Right, so up next is the round function, the round up and also the round down function. And that's what we are considering in this lecture. Now, let's quickly look at, I quickly typed in these dummy values and we are going to be using this as a practice sheet for this lecture. Now, for round, this is what round does. Right, the round is a major rounding functions in Excel that rounds a numeric value to a specified number of digits. We are going to be looking at the function and how to call it and then the different parameters we have in that function. Okay. Now, this is how the round function looks like. Right. We have something like this. This is how it looks like. So there's a round here. This is a function. And we have the number here, which we want to round, for example, 3.44. This is where the number is going to be. But in our case, to make everything dynamic, instead of typing the value, we are going to click the cell, right? And then we have the number of digits to round it to, all right? So let's delete this and then let's start with round. So as we said, what round does is that it rounds a numeric value. So you are not rounding a text. It works with, numeric values to a specified number of digits. Now, use equal sign and then type round. Please note you can, if you are using small letters, it doesn't matter, right? Just like if you want to follow conventions, you can just double tap on it. For example, here, just double tap and then you put in the number here, which is 3.4, then comma. Let's say, for example, we are rounding it to 1. So what happens? We now have 3.4, right? So we are rounding it to 1 decimal place. Now, if you put 0 here, it clears down to 3. Right. And so let's drag this because we have the similar function here. So we drag this to the last value here. So what happens? We are rounding this to, okay, we are supposed to leave it at 2 decimal places. Right. So let's round this. Rounding this to 0 decimal places will give us 3 here. Now, if you round this to 0 decimal place, you are going to get 4. What if you round it up to 1 decimal place? We have 4.5. All right. And rounding this to 0 decimal place, we have 5,000. To 1 decimal place, we should be having 0.5. And then for here, rounding to 0 decimal places, notice what happens. It's now 57. And then if you round this to 0, so when you are rounding, it also affects the negative. It's not only the positive values here. For example, we have 3 here. We have negative values here. So that is it for the round. Then for the roundup, this is how the roundup works. So it roundups numbers upwards away from 0 to a specific number of digits, right? So let's use the function to see how that works. Just type your round up and then we pick this value here. Let's use the number here to be let's say 2. No, let's just say 1 actually. So we have 3.5. So what I'm saying here is that it rounds the number upwards away from 0. So let's drag this to here, to the last value. Now looking at this also, rounding to 1 decimal place here is rounding, is making it, we are having a value of 4.5, right? And then for this particular one, the same here. Let's say, for example, that we change this to 3. Sorry, 4.43. You notice what happens? This value here changed, but the round up did not change. Please, I want you to pay close attention to the difference between round up and then round. Now, this value here, let's say we have the value greater than 5 or greater than 5. From a basic knowledge of rounding up numbers or to decimal places, you should know when it's 5, you should add the value here. So the normal round we know is going to round it to, let's say, to this 1 decimal place, to 1 decimal place. If this value, the next one in the second decimal place is 5 or above, we are going to, the value here is going to increase by 1. Okay, and that's how it works. But for the roundup, what it does is that it rounds the number upwards away from 0. So it just adds it, whether For example, here, if this is even if this is 3, for example, we will still have 5 here. Right? We still have 5 here. Now, the same thing applies to this. So it takes it up here and then it's 5. Let's say we had something like this value. Let's say that we even had something like let's say we had let's say even 2 here. You will still have values here, 5,000.5. So that's how it was. Then for the round down, in Excel does what the opposite of roundup does. That's it rounds a number down towards 0. Remember that for round up, it rounds it upwards, right, to a specific number of digits away from 0. But for the round down, what it does is that it does the opposite of this one. So let's take, for example, that we use the function round down, okay, round down, tap here, then let's use 2, close the brackets. All right, so let's go. Now you've seen what do we now get here? We have, instead of this is 1 decimal place, so let's use 1 decimal place here, number of digits here to 1. Then let's drag down. So you notice what happens. This is 5, 5, 5. This is 4, 4, 4. So instead of rounding up, okay, this is doing the opposite. It's bringing it down, rounds the number down towards 0. So we have 6 here. We have here. We have, now if we have something like 4 here, see, we have the 6 and then we have a 5. So it rounds it down. So there is no better explanations to this. I'll be adding resources for you to read up if you need a clearer understanding and where you can apply this properly in your data. There's going to be a resource link. Download it and then have access to it and read it for proper understanding of this round down, and round up functions in Excel. All right, thank you so much, and I see you next time.